The guest father had brought these gems for her mother as a gift in the 70s. It's great to know that the pieces are from the 20th century. The clip is from the 20s, and the brooch was guessed to have been from the 1930s or 40s. It is encrusted in diamond stones with a great artistic craft behind it. The brooch is a double clip piece. It is 2-in-1, and at the back of it is a mechanism that allows the separation of the clips that are to be worn on the lapel of one's dress. The brooch certainly is worth having. It's got both sapphire and diamond stones. The ring looked like an item from the 40s or 50s. It was made by a popular jewelry company in France known as Cartier. The piece, as you see it, is 18-karat gold and a platinum diamond. Coming down to value, the whole collection will easily go for an amount around...
I think we're looking at probably £15,000 to £20,000.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Not at all, thank you.
The swivel gun was passed on to the guest father from a doctor who obtained it in the course of his work in Russian Fort Sitka, Alaska. This small cannon used to be a staple during wartime in Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The portability of the swivel gun allows it to be mounted on the ship and gives the shooter flexibility to aim in several different directions. This type of cannon is called a Lantaka cannon and was manufactured during the 19th century. This swivel gun is quite unusual with its decorative features, contributing to its valuation ranging between $800 to $1,200 at auction.
$1,200?
Yeah.
Okay.
The badge belonged to the guest's great-grandfather, who was the first black customs official in New York City, starting in 1907 until his passing in 1945. The badge is enameled gilt bronze and is quite rare, even without its historical significance. It is numbered on the back and would typically be valued at $200 to $300. However, when paired with the photograph of the great-grandfather wearing the badge on his hat, the item's value increases significantly. It becomes a piece of interest for those interested in African-American history and could fetch $800 to $1,200 at auction.
Everybody probably knows who Albert Einstein is, but this woman got to know him on a more personal level and even took pictures of him.
My grandmother had a sister. Her name was Lottie Neustein, and they lived in New York. She had worked as an X-ray technician for Dr. Bucky, who was a close friend of Einstein, so she met him on a personal level.
She soon became close to Einstein and began taking pictures of him. Albert Einstein was a German theoretical physicist who is regarded as one of the greatest and most influential scientists of all time. He developed the theory of relativity and contributed to quantum mechanics. Lottie's grandniece brought a collection which included 3 items. The first item was an original signed sketch of Albert Einstein that had been used as a cover of Saturday Review in 1955. It was signed by Einstein for Lottie's sister, Alice Schlesinger. The second item was a photograph of her aunt with a 1942 letter written to her aunt in German.
First item there, your letter. It was done in 1942, and it's tough to translate. We actually, someone who speaks German well looked at it and said, can't quite make it out.
The third item is an autographed book of Einstein titled The World as I See It, and was written in 1949.
One of the things that I really love about this is when you open up and you can touch something that Einstein touched. I mean, it just sends a thrill.
A lot of people would be fascinated if they had the chance to touch an object that Einstein once touched. The appraiser himself was quite intrigued.
This would be in the value of $5,000, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
5 to 6. This one, 1951, and this is probably a $3,000 to $5,000 just for the signature. And then the last one is a nicely signed book, and again, you're probably in that $5,000 to $6,000 range because he didn't just sign it. So you have $13,000 to $17,000 in a retail value.
Thank you so much. It's nice to know.
I wrapped myself up in a package and sent myself over to Hawaii.
This segment features a guest who brought in an original Madam Puppet from the 1970s sitcom Madam's Place, created by Wayland Flowers.
You brought something really cool today. Why don't you tell me about it?
Well, when Wayland Flowers was first starting out, One of his first jobs was in Provincetown at the Pilgrim House. And my friend Dana found out that it was Waylon Flower's birthday, so he threw a surprise birthday party.
They were. But he was a pretty impressive guy. He was one of the early actors who came out as openly gay, which was a big breakthrough.
Yeah.
The puppet was handmade by Flowers and lax movable hands, distinguishing it as an early version. Only 2 other original Madame puppets have been auctioned, selling for $4,500 in the 1990s and $12,500 more recently. Given today's market for nostalgic childhood memorabilia, what might it be worth today?
Probably estimated somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000.
Holy Moses.
So it's a nice gift.
Madam,
you had a good eye.
You're quite the girl.
Yes, she is.
The guest is thrilled by the unexpected value, as many fans immediately recognized Madame when it was brought to the show.
This guest presented a diamond watch acquired by their parents 20 years ago. They bought it at a private estate sale for $500. The item featured diamonds arranged in the form of a cross and contained the Lord's Prayer inside. The appraiser identified the diamonds as rose-cut, typical for the period of manufacture from around 1850 to 1865. The watch had blue guilloche enamel, finely done in France, giving it a translucent blue finish. It had 2 panels, one containing the Lord's Prayer and the other panel revealing the movement of the watch. The enamel and rose diamonds added aesthetic appeal to it. How much would the item be valued?
At auction today, in the neighborhood of somewhere from $2,000 to $3,000.
Goodness gracious.
The guest purchased this light fixture from a friend of a friend who was selling some items. Impressed by its beauty and uniqueness, the guest bought it for $175 approximately 4 years ago. Originally intended as a wall hanging, the fixture was converted into a ceiling lamp by a previous owner. Duffner in Kimberley operated from 1905 to 1911, declaring bankruptcy in 1911. Despite their short lifespan, these creations are highly valued by collectors. The fixture features a Wisteria shade, a highly sought-after design by major lamp makers. The appraiser describes it as one of the prettiest sconces he's ever seen. The appraiser estimates the fixture's fair retail price to be between $8,000 and $12,000.
And I would have it reworked so it goes back to a sconce. You could certainly hang it and enjoy it in your home.
That is awesome news.
Yeah.
The guests came to the show with Tiffany's iridescent Fevril and Calyx vase. This invaluable iridescent Fevril is adorned with vine and leaf patterns, while the Calyx-styled vase is more an artistic piece. Looking at the bottom of the iridescent Fevril piece, you will see an M suffix indicating that it was made in 1915, while the Calyx-style piece carries an A at the bottom indicating that it was made in 1903. Assessing the value of these fancy pieces is quite simple because they're very rare and still retain an incredible amount of vibrancy despite their age. The Calyx piece is valued at around $7,500, while the iridescent Fevril piece is valued at around $6,000.
Whoa! Oh my goodness!
We mostly get to see behind-the-scenes footage of movies, but this time we got to see a clapperboard that was used during the production of Jaws, one of the biggest summer blockbusters in 1975. Jaws is an American thriller based on the novel by Peter Benchley. It was the first motion picture to be filmed in the ocean. The daughter of a man who worked in the transportation division during the production of the movie says the clapperboard was handed to him by one of the camera crew whom he was friends with. A picture of her father with a character from the movie, Bruce the Shark, was brought together with the board. No doubt he was part of the production. During the movie's production, her father lived in Martha's Vineyard. He was a bachelor at the time and lived together with some friends. Her mother was convinced that the board was worth a lot of money, so they searched for it and luckily found it. The family will, for sure, be jubilating that they did. The clapperboard was specially made for Jaws and was designed to imitate the opening and closing of a shark's mouth. It's a unique clapperboard and was used during the production of a popular movie, so it wasn't surprising to hear that at auction, the clapperboard would be popular with collectors.
It's worth quite a bit to collectors. If this was to come up at auction, I put an auction estimate of $25,000 to $35,000 on it.
Wow. All right. Cool.
Their mother's instinct was correct after all. Guest received a painting in 2011, which was made in 2010 by an old friend of hers named Frederick J. Brown.
I met Fred in college, and it was in the late 60s, and most black people were wearing afros and dashikis, and Frederick wore suits and ties.
Frederick Brown is a visual artist from Chicago. His art pieces are notable and are displayed in various prestigious museums. Brown is mostly known as an abstract expressionist painter, but has also done some portraits. His love for jazz music equally influences his art making. The painting he gifted the lady is a series of 4 pieces titled Going Home. It included his signature and an inscription of her name.
These 4 pieces, as a complete set, retail value would be $20,000.
That sounds good. That's very good.
Just by looking at this hard case, you would see that it is a high-grade Martin ukulele enclosed within. The guest bought this Martin 3K ukulele that he inherited from his dad, who purchased it for less than $10. This miniature Martin guitar boasts multiple bindings and a delicate celluloid ornament, stripped down to the fingerboard. What sets this apart from other Martin ukuleles is its ebony fingerboard that extends to the sound hole, unlike the shorter rosewood fingerboards typically found in lower-end models. This instrument, crafted with koa, features distinctive metal friction pegs that were introduced in the 1920s. With its original hard case and other specifications, this model is valued at around $3,000 to $3,500.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
Rolex Red Submariner watch was brought by consignor to the show. All Rolex watches are made in Geneva, Switzerland. The consignor narrated on how he got it.
In 1972, I worked with a gentleman and we scuba dove together. He had a Rolex watch and we went diving. I thought it would be nice to have a watch like that.
The plastic watch was bought in 1972 at Montego Bay for $129. The watch's fascinating history was the red submarine that adds to its value and makes it a rare special piece. The classic features of dependency, waterproofness, earn the brand worldwide figure. The consignor valued the watch to be between $15,000 to $17,000.
Amazing. Thank you.
Back in 1871, my great-great-grandmother had a boarding house in Boston, and she housed the Boston baseball team.
The first baseball team in the United States was housed by this woman's great-great-grandmother. She had a boarding house in Boston where the Boston baseball team stayed. Most members of the team played for Cincinnati Red Stockings. It was the first professional team with 10 men who were on salary for 8 months.
Well, I know the Cincinnati Reds, the first $9,300 I read was the entire payroll for the baseball team at that time.
The woman brought some cards which were given to her by her grandfather. He collected the cards and had to cut them to make them fit the album he made for them.
Well, what you have here are some of the earliest known 1871 photographic baseball cards.
These cards are a sort of trading card that is printed on cardboard, silk, or plastic. The pictures were that of the players, which included Harry Wright, George Wright, and Albert Spaulding, who was the co-founder of a G. Spaulding sporting goods company. The album included letters to her great-great-grandmother that were signed by the players.
They must have really loved her. I'm sure she did the cooking, the cleaning for them, because if you read some of these lines here, I am just going upstairs to supper and feel awful hungry, but do not expect much. Poor meals here, too hungry to say any more. Harry Wright. This letter with Harry Wright and Spaulding on it is tremendous. To have anything with their signatures on it is phenomenal because, again, you're talking about the precursor to the National and American Leagues.
So, that's all said. Let's see what it's worth, shall we?
And I'm going to value this as an archive, everything here. If you're going to insure it,
Insurance. Okay.
I would insure it for at least $1 million.
Are you serious? Oh, my.
Signed copies of historic figures like the members of this baseball team are always in demand. This lady better put this collection in a bank vault like she said she would.
Holy smokes.
It is the greatest archive I have ever had at the Roadshow.
The guest brought in personal memoirs of a U.S. military officer and politician, Ulysses S. Grant. They were purchased from a bookstore in Detroit, run by an Irish lady and her mother. The appraiser highlighted the significance of the books, praising them as one of the best autobiographies ever written. The books cover the life of Grant up to the Civil War.
He actually was financially very secure until his son got him into essentially a Ponzi scheme.
However, the book was incredibly successful, selling thousands of copies at the time. It bears a signature, yet it raises suspicion since Grant passed away before their publication. The signature is actually a facsimile printed in every copy of the book. Despite this, the book's historical significance and popularity were acknowledged. The value estimated was around $350.
Okay.
The guest brought in a bracelet she received as a gift from her aunt in the 1950s. It's an original HAR piece from Hargo Creations of New York, a company renowned for crafting exotic and limited jewelry. The bracelet is part of a rare collection called the Genie bracelet, which also includes a genie brooch. The principal component of the bracelet is made of lucite, featuring an image of the Taj Mahal and Aladdin's lamp, making it a unique and custom piece of jewelry. The HAR creation is a multi-layered 3D composition consisting of a genie bracelet valued at $1,200 and the brooch that is priced at $200 each.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
We have an exciting piece, a signed photograph of none other than Joan Crawford. And we also have a handwritten schedule penned by Crawford herself. The schedule was followed meticulously by the guest's grandmother, who worked as Crawford's nanny for a brief period in the 1940s. These items were discovered among the possessions of the guest's late father, who had stored them in the house where their grandmother had worked. Crawford's generosity in signing documents contrasts sharply with the controversial aspects of her personal life, particularly highlighted in the book Mommy Dearest by her daughter Christina. The schedule provides first-hand insight into Crawford's strict control over her household, outlining detailed instructions for the care of her children. Notably, it includes instructions to tie up the baby in his playchair during room cleaning, offering concrete evidence of Crawford's authoritarian parenting style. The appraiser emphasizes the significance of these documents as a rare glimpse into the Crawfords' private life and suggests that, along with the photograph, they could fetch between a whopping $4,000 to $6,000. This cane has been a cherished family heirloom for over 80 years. It was acquired by the guest's great-grandfather during a demolition. Inscribed on the handle is the name of Colonel William Lamb, who received it from the Norfolk Police Department in 1881. The cane features intricate carvings starting with George Washington at the top and spiraling down with names, including the engraver C.M. Sharpley in 1880. Notably, Lamb was a Civil War colonel known for his command at Fort Fisher, despite Union attacks. The cane's handle showcases a lineage of mayors from Lamb's family, making it a unique blend of folk art, local politics, and Civil War history.
At the very bottom is William Lamb's name, and I don't know if you looked before, but there are two other Lambs that are carved in this area. So his father's name and his grandfather's name is carved there.
The rolled gold handle, adorned with tobacco leaves, is complemented by a short ferrule, indicating its age and historical significance. Its auction value is around $4,000, making it a valuable and historically rich collectible.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The guest item is a Civil War medicine kit that belonged to their great-great relative, Charles Bast, who carried it through the war. It includes various vials, one of which was for overeating and drinking. The kit is a pocket pharmacy sold to soldiers before the war. It's dated 61 and has been passed down with letters from Charles to his sister. In terms of value, if it wasn't a family piece, the kit would retail for somewhere in the $300 to $500 range. However, due to its family history and personal significance, it's considered priceless to the family and will never be sold.
The The guest brought in a signed book titled The Art of Rock, authored by Paul Grushkin. Initially priced at $90, the guest found a copy at a flea market for $50. The book featured 242 signatures from various artists, musicians, and renowned figures.
Everyone from Willie Nelson to Joan Baez. We have a giant Steve Miller down here.
Remarkably, it also contains signatures from influential artists, such as Victor Moscoso and Stanley Mouse, and even contributed to a drawing. The book itself included the seminal work that documented all of the posters of that era. Even though the book has some damage, its value goes up because its signatures were collected over 25 years ago. How much would this item be valued?
At auction, I would put an estimate around $2,000 to $3,000 on the book.
Okay.
I was gifted this lithograph and the bottle of whiskey that goes along with it. It's from a very dear friend as a retirement gift.
Anytime the man visited his friend's cabin, he admired the engraving which was hung on the wall. He finally received the engraving from his friend as a retirement gift a week before bringing it to the show. The page was the centerfold of the newspaper, which was an advertisement for a whiskey brand owned by St. Soot, a whiskey baron who produced whiskey for decades, since the middle of the 19th century. His whiskey empire ended in 1888, after his death. Luckily for the owner, whiskey-bottled collectibles were in high demand.
The earthenware jug at auction, we believe, is worth between $500 and $700.
Oh, wow.
At auction, it would sell for between $3,000 and $4,000.
Oh, wow. 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 That's too much.
Making both items value at $3,500 to $4,700 altogether. Happy retirement. This man would be glad he saved his family's piece for himself. The guest on the show said he collected the piece when his grandmother was being moved to a different home. No one in the family wanted the drawer, so he took it.
Uncle had, I think, gotten a little bit tired of taking care of it. It's a little bit more high maintenance. I think there's some legs and some of the skirt stuff that had been kind of knocked off a couple times.
The chest is furniture from the Federal style period, which lasted between 1789 to 1823.
It's just veneer and accents. The inlay that...
Although the surface of the furniture is not the original, it is old and of great quality.
I think I could put an auction estimate on this piece without any difficulty of $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's cool.
While the couple were in Hong Kong during his birthday in 1964, his wife bought him a Rolex Day-Date model as a birthday present. The watch was manufactured by the Swiss watch designer Rolex. The model of the watch was later known to be the presidential model. The guest had wanted the yellow gold type, but it was out of stock, so he got the one of 18-karat white gold. The show's appraiser noted that just the piece of foil that came with a watch would fetch $500 and above. The man's watch still had the complete set it came with, and because of this, the value was extremely high.
Market, because it's a whole complete set, and the watch is in such great condition, a retail price on this is going to be $20,000.
Oh, my. Well, it kept up with the times.
A page full of baseball players' autographs has a value of thousands of dollars. This lady's mother-in-law was taken to a baseball game in Seattle by her father when she was 10 years old. The game was an exhibition game organized in 1934 by the American League players. They called it the Western Canada Tour. It's a good thing her father had urged her to try and get some autographs from the players, and she did. She kept the signatures in her autograph book and passed it on to her son, who then kept the original autographed book in a safe and made a photocopy which was hung on the wall of his house. Sadly, the paper did not have the autograph of all the players.
What's interesting is there's 12 signatures here, but there's only 11 of the players that went to Japan.
Okay.
So we also have Al Schacht, who was the clown prince of baseball. So you're actually missing 4 players of the 15 that went to Japan. I would say at auction, I'd put a value of $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
That's great for a little piece of paper with signatures.
I would put an insurance value on it of $20,000.
Oh, okay. Great.
Not bad indeed for a piece of paper with signatures.
This guest took us back to memory lane with the Beatles poster and ticket that he bought in 1966. The Beatles was a popular English rock band comprising John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. This iconic poster was printed for the Cleveland concert, which was considered one of the wildest concerts where the fans broke loose and invaded the field. This is a very rare Beatles poster that would still be worth around $3,000 to $5,000, while the original ticket from the concert would be estimated between $150 to $250.
Really? It's yours. Oh, the auction. Oh, great.
I brought in a Rolex watch that I had purchased while I was in military.
This military man forgot about his reputation and laid flat on the ground upon hearing the value of his watch.
You okay? Don't fall. I'm not done yet.
The guest brought a Rolex watch that he purchased when he was in the military from 1973 to 1975. He purchased the watch for $345 in November 1974 through the base exchange, but became skeptical about using it, so he put it in a safety deposit box instead.
I just kept it. After I got out of the service, I had other watches I wore, and I just put this one into a safety deposit box. It stayed there for 30 or 40 years. I only took it out like 2 or 3 times to look at it, and that was about the extent of it before I brought it here.
The watch was made by the popular watch designer Rolex at around 1971. Its model is referred to as an oyster cosmograph or Daytona. They were manufactured for a short period of time and are extremely rare. The man equally came with the blank warranty paper for the watch, which the appraiser said would sell for $2,000. Collectors love the model of this watch because Paul Newman wore a lesser model of it in a movie called Winning.
Watch at auction today, $500,000 to $700,000. No, I'm very serious. Oh, it's an absolute fabulous find. It's one of the rarest Paul Newman models, and in this condition, I don't think there's a better one in the world.
Unbelievable.
You can't wear it though.
No.
If you wear it, it drops down to the $400,000 value.
Also, she would tell me that when my feet would touch the floor, she wouldn't rock me anymore. And secretly, I hoped that my feet never touched the floor.
Babies in this family have been rocked on this hickory chair for generations. A descendant of the family says that the chair was made by an Indian chieftain and was given to her family who come from Scotland. Her grandfather wrote a letter a few years before his demise, talking about the history of the chair and how he was also rocked in it by his grandmother. This chair must be tired from all the baby rocking. The chair is linked to Billy Richardson, a North Carolinian who moved to Indiana and started a company called Old Hickory Chair Companies in the 1890s. The company began making chairs of this nature in the early 1900s.
Do you have any idea what it's worth?
No idea, no clue.
Well, they made a lot of these, but they have come back into vogue. It's probably at auction, I would estimate it at $1,000 to $2,000.
Wow.
However, in today's market, it dropped to $300 to $500.
This is one of the largest and most spectacular books ever seen on the Roadshow. Its title is Drawings by the DeAlways Family, Ceylon. Ceylon is the former name of Sri Lanka. The owner received this book from her aunt. This beautiful book is associated with the important Sri Lankan family DeAlways. It's filled with absolute stunning watercolors dating back to the 1880s.
The quality and workmanship and scholarship of them is just absolutely wonderful.
The book showcases Sri Lankan plants, trees, nuts, fruits, and breathtaking flowers. These insects highlight the natural history of Sri Lanka. What might be its value?
Nowadays, I would expect it to make something closer towards £10,000.
Wow. Gosh.
The guest brought these German Four Seasons porcelain figurines that she got during a clear-out of her husband's grandmother's place. The figurine was purchased at an antique store in Illinois by the guest husband's great-grandfather for his wife during their housewarming in the 40s. Going by the name, the figurines depict spring, summer, fall, and winter. Incredible modeling on these figurines is remarkable, and the drapery at the back of each of them was crisply molded. Also, the flower painting on the dress and the detail are indicative of a Mason-style design. Mason is a top German company that set a precedent with the use of high-paced porcelain, which is a distinctive attribute of German porcelain. The Mason-style design gives the impression that these Four Seasons porcelain figurines were made between 1850 and 1880. Taking into consideration the age, the quality of the porcelain, and the almost perfect condition, the porcelain would have a retail value between $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow.
If we did additional research, we might figure out who made them, and that might help the value a little bit.
Passed down through generations, this baseball holds a significant place in history. Originally given to the owner's grandfather by a groundskeeper at Ebbets Field, it remained tucked away in a closet for over 50 years. Dated June 23, 1859, this baseball commemorates games played by the Brooklyn Atlantics, the first champions of organized baseball. Despite its age, the ball shows signs of wear expected for such a rare artifact. Handmade and hand-stitched, it bears the stamp 29 at the end of Atlantic, with unclear references to time and 15. Here's the value of ball appraised at.
This ball has a value of $20,000 plus.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
A 19th century painting was presented by the guest, which belonged to her husband's grandfather, who passed away in 2003 at the age of 107. The painting features a signature at the lower left corner, attributed to a Russian artist named Wilhelm Velten, and dated 1867. His work received a lot of appreciation in the Russian market. This was painted early in Velten's career. The artist's paintings are normally small in size, but this one is large, adding to its value. The particular painting has several condition issues, including in-painting craquelure and tears. It's mounted on plywood, which further affects its condition. How much would the item be valued?
I would give this an estimate of perhaps $15,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Wow.
The guest inherited a pair of bowls from her father, which originally belonged to her great-uncle and aunt. The intricately designed bowls had molded surfaces with a fretwork pattern. There are circular roundels on the bowls with delicate painting, exhibiting enamel decorating with gilding. Made of high-quality porcelain, the bowls were likely produced in Jingdezhen, China.
These would have been used for special occasions, so it's a mixture of functionality and art.
Markings on the bowls indicated they were made during the great Ming Dynasty, Chang Hui period from 1464 to 1487. The wooden bases accompanying the bowls were likely made between 1930 and 1950 and perfectly complemented the bowls. The estimated value of the item would be between $15,000 and $25,000 at auction.
Wow. That's all I can say.
These watercolor paintings were passed down to the guest from her grandfather. These American Western watercolor paintings were made by the artist Olaf Karl Seltzer. Seltzer was a painter and illustrator who did over 2,500 paintings and illustrations of the American West, including cowboys. He was mentored by his friend, the artist Charles Marion Russell. Seltzer's paintings represent the second of the two generations of Western art.
There's the first generation, including Remington and Russell, and they were really capturing the vanishing West.
His work captured the myth of the West, offering more imaginary images than the first generation.
The smaller pieces of the Native Americans are probably a better subject. The detail that you can see in the figures is quite extraordinary.
He was known for the great truthfulness he brought to capturing these scenes. The appraiser values them at
Smaller pieces, I would estimate at between $6,000 and $8,000 a piece at auction.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yes. And the larger piece at between $8,000 and $12,000.
Oh my word. Wow. That's amazing.
The guest purchased the Highboy at an auction in Louisville, attracted to it because it reminded her of a similar piece in her family. Made around 1765 to 1770 in Connecticut, the Highboy features typical New England characteristics like pad feet and a distinctive angular knee. With a beautifully shaped skirt and similar cut sides, while the exact maker is unknown. It is in remarkable condition for its age, with original dovetail joints indicating that the top and bottom sections are not married or associated. A label on the back from a Connecticut antique dealer dating back to the 1920s or earlier adds to its authenticity, mentioning colonial relics, with this piece certainly qualifies as. Despite the missing plates, the high boys valued between $12,000 to $18,000 at auction.
I love it.
These are some World War II memorabilia, which belongs to the guest father.
He was a Dutch Jedburgh, a special ops soldier, and he jumped with General Gavin of the 82nd.
Her dad is famous for saving General Gavin.
They were the first two to land. My dad was walking point, and he spotted a machine gunist in a tree and shot him before the machine gunners had a chance to shoot General Gavin.
The owner took the box from his dad's house and brought it to Boise. She hasn't opened it in 25 years. Well, that's awesome. So, of the stuff that you brought, this is what we picked out to look at here. The wings here represent the Special Force insignia. So, from a value perspective, this is interesting and wonderful, and the value is...
Because they're him, they're a little better than average. You have in the neighborhood of $10,000 worth of cloth insignia right there on that table.
No way. That's amazing.
Tell me, do you have World War II items that might be worth something? Let me know in the comments.
This painting was hidden in the owner's father's estate for many years.
I saw the name and I did some research and found out who the painter was.
The painting was created by Julian Dupre. Julian Dupre was a French realist painter. He was born in 1851 and died in 1910. He was an expert in painting realistic scenes such as laborers, farms, and threshing wheat, etc. This painting exemplifies his realistic style. The way this painting shows maidens and cows near and far away is exceptional. It has clear signs. Julian Dupre worked mostly in canvas, but this rare piece is in panel. The painting is untouched and in wonderful condition. The frame enhances the painting's beauty. Cradle panel prevents the panel from creating cracks. Value of the painting is?
We would value this painting at $25,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
This is a federal sewing table bought for $45 by the owner's grandfather in 1929 in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. The owner had the table appraised about 15 years ago in Baltimore for around $4,500. However, it's identified that the table is fake and made in the teens and 20s in Boston.
That knew that this was a fashionable style. People wanted to buy this type of federal sewing stand, so they were knocking them out in large numbers.
Piece is constructed to imitate the federal style, but lacks genuine age indicators.
From 1810, it would be very valuable. Probably be worth about $12,000 to $14,000.
Despite being fake, the item is still valued when sold in retail.
When they're not period, they're worth about $800 to $1,000. You know.
Okay. I brought it here to find out what it was all about, so thank you very much.
This owner received crystals from Ralph Roberts, Marilyn Monroe's masseur and friend. Ralph Roberts was born on August 16th in 1916 in Salisbury, North Carolina. He was an actor known for the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Killer's Kiss, and Bells Are Ringing. Roberts drove Monroe to her home in Roxbury, Connecticut to retrieve her belongings during her divorce from Arthur Miller. Crystals were given to Roberts by Monroe during that time. The owner provided a notarized story and picture with Roberts for documentation. These valued the crystals, shaped like a heart, at approximately $2,000 to $3,000 in an auction.
In 1999, the heir to the Strasbourg estate actually put up the rest of her belongings and had a massive estate sale, which set auction records and did tremendously well.
The guest brought in a patriotic wall hanging that she got from her father. The history behind this wall hanging started with the guest's grandfather, who purchased it around 1881 to 1911 when he was serving in the American Navy. Originally, this piece was made in Yokohama, Japan, around 1907 to 1908. This hanging is a silk embroidery stitched with thread onto heavy paper and finished with vibrant colors describing the American Navy taking the Great White Fleet around the world. The estimated value of each wall hanging is $1,200 to $1,500.
Okay.
The guest came to the show with this Royal Crown Derby teaware that she'd purchased, with the help of a maid who informed her of a lovely stash of kitchenware during her condolence visit to the house. This is a collection of painted English teawares that were popularly referred to as a trio because it consists of a teapot, creamer, and sugar bowl. The distinctive thing about this particular teaware is that it consists of cups and saucers, with each piece having hand-painted scenes right in the center, surrounded by a cobalt blue background. The painting on the teawares were that of the Regency period, indicating that it was manufactured around 1815 to 1820. On the back of the teaware is an English mark bearing the Cumberland, with a Crown Derby mark below it. Given that this teaware is titled and in stable condition, the set has an estimated value of $3,000.
My goodness. Well, I have 7 teacups and 8 coffee cups and 8 deep saucers and
This pair of French porcelain figures was brought to the show by a woman. She stated that the pieces belonged to her grandmother, along with the foyer and mate that go with it. With careful inspection, the figures were probably made in France in the 1880s, but has little details about who the figures represent and the artist who made them. This is not your everyday ordinary table. It's a piece of history. It's crafted by Philip and Kelvin Laverne, masters of high-end furniture design. The Chan Series table, known as the Festival Console, showcases their unparalleled skill in metalwork and artistic expression.
They didn't make a lot of these tables, and you especially do not see labels still attached to them. So it's amazing that yours still has that paper label.
With its intricate acid etch process, incorporating bronze, pewter, and patinated enamel, this table is a testament to the Laverne's innovation and creativity. The guest acquired this remarkable piece for a mere $600 and initially estimated its worth around $1,000. However, the truth is far more astonishing. Despite the reservations, the table's estimated auction value stands between $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, no.
Yes. $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. Oh.
Remember the Pokemon card fever was trending back in the day? Turns out it is now worth a pretty good amount of money. This 90s lady was obsessed with the Pokemon trading card collection and played them virtually everywhere with her friends.
Like most 90s babies, I fell into the craze. We were playing with them on the school bus, trading them, and my mom bought me this set online.
Her mom, however, thought she was being cheated in her Pokemon trades, so she paid $35 to purchase a complete set of cards for her from an online website during the late 1990s. The collection the lady had was the original Pokemon set from 1999, the first 102 cards released in the Pokemon game. It had 16 original holographic cards.
Being a 90s baby myself, the Pokemon craze was insane. When we look at Pokemon today as a brand, as a franchise, Pokemon is an all-encompassing brand. It's unbelievable.
Pokemon is a Japanese media franchise owned by Nintendo. The franchise consists of video games, animated series, films, trading card games, and other related media. It was released in 1996 in Japan, and later in 1999 in the United States. The name Pokemon is an abbreviation of the name Pocket Monster. The owner of the Pokemon card collection had come to the show with very low expectations for the collection because her friends had told her it would cost $50.
Conservatively, at auction, we would say that your binder would be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range.
Wow, much more than I was expecting.
Nothing beats having a piece of memorabilia of your favorite sports team. The opportunity to relive the moments of joy, pain, and laughter just by the sight or touch of the object is one not worth trading for anything. This is the case of our guest who brought a Willie Mays worn Minneapolis Millers jersey. He bought the jersey at a collector's show for $50. The Minneapolis Millers were an American professional minor league baseball team that played in Minneapolis, Minnesota through 1960. This jersey was the home uniform of the Millers and it dates from 1950. The jersey, which is number 28, belonged to the player Willie Mays, which he wore in the 1951 season. The guest did some research to determine the authenticity of the jersey.
Lettering and the ribboning on the front of the uniform, but a dead giveaway was this team repair on the right sleeve.
The team repair mark amazingly appears in the photograph here. The jersey, which is still in very good condition, is appraised to be about
In the $60,000 to $80,000 range today.
Oh, my.
In 2019, the price fell to between $40,000 to $50,000. What do you think will be the price today? Let us know in the comments. This lovely porcelain dessert set has been in the guest family for a long time. He had appraised the set earlier in the 70s to be around $700. It was believed not to be of English origin, as it was not marked, being likely to be of early French descent. The appraiser has this to say.
Actually, this set is absolutely English.
Oh, really?
There's several ways I can tell that, but primarily because it is soft-paste porcelain. If it had been French, it would have been hard-paste porcelain.
The set is said to have been made between 1800 and 1825 by Colport, having the distinctive notches present on pieces at that time. It is a dessert set made for serving sweets, baked goods, and fruits. The set is made of 15 beautiful porcelain pieces.
The value on this is not so much the age as the decoration. This is considered spectacular decoration, and therefore is quite valuable.
The appraiser values them at
If we add together this set, a retail value or an insurance value would be between $20,000 and $30,000.
Oh my mom's gonna see this and she's gonna ask for it back probably.
The guests acquired this table from the estate of an elderly lady who was their neighbor and a dear friend. They purchased it in 2004 and believe it to be an Art Nouveau piece made by the Toby Furniture Company. Toby Furniture Company, originally known for arts and crafts furniture, likely produced this table in the early 1900s. The table style has been debated, with some suggesting Rococo Revival or Regency Revival, but the appraiser leans towards Art Nouveau, noting its resemblance of French and Belgian designs. The table features intricate detailing, such as step molding and a sculptural base, showcasing Toby's interpretation of European style in a more muscular form. This table is considered rare due to its limited availability. The appraiser values it between $4,000 to $6,000 at auction, noting its potential to attract significant interest and exceed. Pima woven horsehair miniature baskets was brought to the show by a guest whose wife inherited from her mother. She picked them up out in a Navajo reservation in Arizona. Their woven baskets are made in southern Arizona by the Pima Indians. The baskets date to about the 1950s and 1960s. Pima woven horsehair miniature baskets are special because they're handmade with intricate patterns and are tiny works of art. Pima woven horsehair miniature baskets add beauty and culture to any space. The appraiser valued each basket to be $125. This guest brought this iconic, well-designed bottle to the show. The bottle was made around 1910 by Carol Warner, an itinerant artist who is best known for her work with color on metal and bottles. This bottle was made with extraordinary carved and painted wood with a cheery and distinct color. Also, the bottle was an intricate painted scene depicting a German wood carving at the other end. This is a large and beautiful bottle and still maintains its impressive condition. The bottle still holds a retail value of around $3,000 to $4,000.
That's pretty astonishing.
What we've got here is a watch, a pilot watch, in fact. And the date of this one, if we see inside, there should be the marks of Omega and a letter R, which is 1912. It's a First World War pilot's watch, and hence the very clear white dial with the black numbers. This is how the owner came in possession of the watch.
Tell you what I got it. I bought it off a chap that was dealing in bric-a-brac in Newport Market in South Wales some 22 years ago.
He got it repaired and even brought the repair bill along, made out to a T.E. Shaw of Clouds Hill, Moreton endorsement. Well, as a watch, its value is around...
It's a guess. I'd double that, maybe 5, maybe 10.
Good God. I better get it insured then. Yeah.
Here, we have a set of toys from far, far away. These are items from the Star Wars franchise. They are all the same figures, the figure of Jawa.
They're these sort of lovable, endearing scavengers, really.
This is one of the earliest Jawa figures produced.
As you can see, it's in its original carded packaging. It has a little clear bubble on the front of it there as well. It's in an acrylic case there, which actually on the side of it has a condition grading, which is a grading 80.
What's really special about the figure is that it has a vinyl cape. This one isn't in any packaging.
So this is a loose action figure, and this is the second version of the Jawa that was released.
This is the figure most kids played with, and it comes complete with its accessories. The last one is the larger scale Jawa.
What's really interesting about this is the fact that it's in French packaging. This is actually graded an 85, so it's slightly better condition than the 80 on the vinyl Cape Jawa.
The values of these beautiful toys are
£50, £3,500, and £20,000.
Exactly.
I think 80% of the viewers have a figure of Jawa at home. Or not. Let me know in the comments. We have a rare display case of a whiskey bottle here today. This is what the guest has to say about it.
It's the fabled 1926 Macallan, which I understand there were 24 bottles made, 24 of these cases, 12 Adami and 12 Sir Peter Blake.
Let's hear what the appraiser has to say about this rare item.
This gap in this brass case once contained a £1 million bottle of whiskey.
The world record for one of the whiskey bottles held by this case is currently $1.9 million. The guest got it from an auction site.
I saw a picture on an auction site, and the picture was just of the 1926 badge.
Right.
And I knew exactly what it was.
You knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. As to the value of this case?
So in my mind, this case is worth £10,000.
I think the bottle's probably been drunk.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
This is a collector's early Hornby train set. Guest got it for her son, who is currently 14 years old.
I like just to collect them, and I thought, well, I'd buy it for my son, who is now 14, and at the time he was only 3.
Well, he was too young for
yes.
it then.
It is still in really good condition, not really being used with all the sections intact. Here's what the appraiser has to say about it.
I suppose the majority that we see on the roadshows tend to be the ones from the late 1920s and the 30s, and even some produced post-war.
This is one of the very first Hornby trains ever made. It was the first. This particular train set dates back to 1920 and was made by Frank Hornby, who started the Meccano business. Can you guess the value of this antique toy set?
It does have a value, I would say, of between perhaps £300 and £400.
You see quite a lot of money boxes on the roadshow, but not like this one. This one really is unusual. It's got a particular name, and it's called the Elephant with 3 Clowns.
There's somebody at the back of the elephant who's got a ball balanced on his feet. And at the front, there's somebody holding a couple of acrobat's rings. And on the top, there's somebody sort of balancing and showing himself off.
Most money boxes were produced in America and then exported or brought into Europe. It's pretty simple how it works. All you have to do is...
you put 1 penny, balance it just there.
And then
you pull that.
The casting is still of good quality, and it has an absolutely delightful action. To a collector, this piece would be irreplaceable. However, its value is...
I think that we would be talking about perhaps between £400 and £600 at auction.
This might seem like a mere toy, but it's truly one of a kind. The only thing that doesn't work on it is the wheels.
The wheels. I believe the wheels are supposed to be connected.
Plane was made in the mid-1930s. It's still in very good condition. It has an RAF marking at the front, which means it was made in Germany, but for the English market. The appraiser goes into detail about its manufacturing.
Now, the way that I know immediately that it's made by a German manufacturer is by looking at these initials, JD.
It's probably done by a manufacturer called Distler. It has the Dist trademark, which is a globe with the initials JDN written around, which is Johann Distler of Nuremberg. It's an R100 airship. It works with a very nice aluminum body, very stylish. They're not old toys, but they do have a value.
If it went into auction, it would probably realize between perhaps £500 and £600.
This is a Papier-mâché. It was probably made around 1910 and was probably made by SCH in Germany or maybe by the French.
Written cowhide covering, and the fact that these wheels, this shape is started in about 1880.
It's a very expensive toy of its time. It's such a lovely dog, and in auction, it would be...
I would put it at probably between £500 and £800.
Oh dear.
Let's hear about this marvelous surface.
My husband made it up. He had a collection of animals, so he decided to make the proper circus.
What we're looking at are lead circus figures. The guest husband made the board, too. So this is just the inner circle, and what is incredible is the fact that it's in such good condition. Taking a closer look at the acts in isolation, you can see there's this wonderful high wire act with a lady on the trapeze underneath, and the clown on top holding an umbrella. This high wire act is British because it is written in the original box. It says the Flying Trapeze, but that's very nice with the original label on it. There's also another make known for its circus figures called Charbon, and quite a lot of the other figures here are by that particular make. They are all in very good condition, and for the value it goes for.
I think that one has to be looking at perhaps 800 or perhaps as much as £1,000 for everything that you have.
This is just a fragment of the collection owned by our guest today, who started the collection even before he was born.
When did you start?
My parents started me off years ago before I was born.
These two were the first ones he bought. The most interesting one is this, the little dinky toy made between 1936 and 1938. And what's interesting about this is...
At the front, it's got the radiator is actually a piece of tin plate, which has been put on.
We also have other cars here, like the Triang Minic toy, another English toy, and these three English contenders, and all roughly the same date between 1930 and 1940. The Schuko cars were different in that they were made of tin plates rather than being die-cast. They all work, actually, with one which is voice-activated. When it comes to the values, the early dinky toys go for...
That particular toy, in that sort of condition, would be talking about perhaps £250 to £300.
These two larger cars go for...
I wouldn't be at all surprised to see those at £150 or £180 a piece.
Our guest got this piece of furniture handed down to him from his grandma 6 years ago. It's a tremendously colorful piece, also exciting. This piece looks like they are riding home from a battle with a procession of lords and ladies. These are the appraiser's thoughts on this piece.
They've been in battle, they're wearing armour, and they're coming home in triumph into the castle, I think. But it's quite funny, isn't it? Because the faces are a bit peculiar.
This was made in about the 1920s. It's quite unusual to find furniture like this, which still has the color on it.
The colour on it, lots of people have taken the colour off. And of course, in the original old furniture in the 16th, 15th century, it was usually painted like this in lots of bright colours.
It's made with oak and has a value of about...
You might find that you could sell it for about £2,000 to £3,000.
Really?
The guest bought 3 Windsor McKay comic art pieces that he purchased to the show. Zenas Windsor McKay was an American cartoonist and animator. He is best known for the comic strip Little Nemo in Slumberland and the animated film Gertie the Dinosaur. The comic strip is a pen and ink drawing which depicted Nemo having fantastic dreams that were interrupted by his awakening in the final panel.
Right. Well, other than the comic strip, I know that he was an important pioneer in the development of animated films. He created a character called Gertie the Dinosaur.
The strip is considered McKay's masterpiece for its experiments with the form of the comic page, use of color, timing, pacing, the size and shape of its panels, and other features. It's very rare to have any Windsor McKay comic book with an original label from the New York Herald. The value of this exquisite piece is estimated to be around $25,000.
That's a nice piece of change, Gary.
Something nice to find at a bar.
Yeah.